Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I am the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-com industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you're a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready for next-level growth and to unlock the optimal customer lifetime value through email marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands get over $70 million in return from email alone, and our clients get an average of 3,500% ROI on our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, The Oodie, and many more. And if you're interested in what we're doing here, the next step is just to email us at sales@chronos.agency. That's sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. And today's guest is someone I'm super excited to have on. Daniel Harmon is the Chief Creative Officer of Harmon Brothers, whose advertisements are responsible for over 1.5 billion views on the internet and $400 million in revenue generated. In fact, you've probably seen some of their ads. Harmon Brothers are the masterminds behind advertising campaigns for Poo Pourri, Squatty Potty, Purple Mattress, FiberFix, ChatBooks, and many more. And recently, Lume, where basically they took that brand off the roof, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit. But Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Now, tell me a little bit more about, most people are going to be really curious about how Harmon Brothers got started. And I know you've talked about this a lot, but if you were to give kind of a brief history of the agency, what would that be like?
Well, it's never brief, but my brothers were co-founders of a little company called Brush. It's a tongue cleaner that gets the bacteria off your tongue and it helps you get rid of bad breath. And they pioneered a campaign on YouTube to sell the Brush. It was a kind of it was a total flop actually in stores. The inventor of the Brush had gotten it into local stores and it wasn't getting any movement. Finally, he took it to the local business school. My brother was part of that class, and they did a study on it. The study concluded that you shouldn't try to sell the Brush online because only about 7% of people, or 8%, whatever the number was, would actually buy it online. And then my brother raised his hand and said, wait, 7 or 8%, that's still millions of people, right? Why not sell it to them? And the inventor of the Brush really liked that and came to him, and they started working on, just different strategies to try to sell, to try to make the Brush into an e-commerce brand, go direct to consumer, not worry about having to do all the retail distribution. And they ended up making a YouTube campaign that I consulted on, and that was the first campaign on YouTube in history where you could dependably spend $1 in advertising and get more than $1 back. And it got millions and millions of views. It's you can still find it there on YouTube. It's how to tell if you have bad breath, I think is the title, or something close to that. And the Brush still works. It's still a great product, but they ended up getting distribution in Walgreens and Walmart. There it is. Josh has got one. And CVS and Boots and all these different retailers all over the world. And then a little company in Texas called Poo Pourri reached out to my brother Jeffrey and said, saw the work that had been done with the Brush. Was like, oh, I need that done for my little poop spray. It's, something you spray in your toilet before you go to the bathroom, and it makes it so your poop doesn't stink. And so we didn't at that time. By that time, I was a full-time employee at Brush. We all were. I was an art director there. My brothers were heading up marketing and operations. And we decided to resign from Orabrush because we didn't like the direction the company was going, and go off and do the Poo Pourri campaign. We made the Poo Pourri campaign with no intentions of creating an advertising agency. It was just to make that campaign work. We thought we would maybe even become part of their company, like we were part of Orabrush at the time, just before that. And we launched the campaign from my brother's living room, or from his kitchen, actually. Um, and pretty soon, media outlets started to grab the YouTube link and write up articles on it. It was like Huffington Post and Adweek and Advertising Age, and some of these really big, well-known publications. I think like there was like BuzzFeed and all these others that picked it up, and they were selling out of product. They couldn't even keep up with the inventory. Poo Pourri became a household name almost overnight. And just millions and millions of views. And they would cite creative agency Harmon Brothers, and we were looking around at each other like, "We're an agency? I guess we're. Are we really an agency? Like, we made a campaign for a client. I guess that makes us as an agency." We didn't know what to think about it, and from there we started having more and more inquiries on people that wanted help with marketing campaigns and advertising campaigns, and that led to the campaign with Squatty Potty. Bobby, the CEO of Squatty Potty, saw the Poo Pourri campaign and was very upset because he's like, "That should have been my brand." But then we were able to go and one up that in a big way and do the prince and the unicorn and the ice cream poop campaign, the magical pooping unicorn.
The rainbow
that,
poop, yeah.
Yeah, blew all their sales out of the water, and then from there, to purple, ChatBooks, and on and on down the list. This is an e-commerce podcast, so things like ClickFunnels and Camp Chef, and more recently Lume Deodorant, which has been phenomenal. Like you said, we took them from like a $1.7 million run rate to now, since the partnership with them, I think they're on track to do, I think it's 50 million this year, something crazy like that. But anyway,
Wow.
yeah, they've grown huge, and that was just this course of a couple of years. But anyway, yeah, it's been a wild ride. We felt extremely blessed to be part of it, and in this process, we've pioneered what's people often refer to as a Harmon Brothers style ad, or Harmon Brothers style video, where it's incorporating some of the best elements of direct to consumer conversion with some of the best elements of storytelling and branding into one powerful ad format. And we do a lot more than that now. There's all sorts of stuff we do, but that's kind of what we're known for.
I think that's where the sweet spot of and the efficacy of your ads lie. It's that sweet spot between a direct response ad that we would typically see on Facebook versus a massive advertising campaign with brands like Nike or Apple with huge advertising budgets. And you guys managed to kind of balance between the two and find a really strong middle ground. And I was reading Russell Brunson's testimonial of you guys, and all your ads create really just four responses. It's to laugh, like, share, and buy. And that's incredibly powerful and rare. What do you think is that thought process behind, going between those two extremes versus kind of just going, all right, we're just going to focus on
going to one extreme or the other?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I think both have their merits. Direct response has its merits, especially in the very earliest stages of a business.
Mm-hmm.
And then branding, like what Nike and Apple and stuff did, if they were out doing direct response, it would almost be like, "What are you doing?" It'd be
exactly,
like, where is this coming from? Why are you sitting here hard selling me a shoe or some sort of a laptop or an iPhone or something? Same thing for companies like Ford, Red Bull, and so on. I would say that where the magic of it comes in is that when a company especially is in its earlier stages, they can't get too focused. They can't get it too ahead of themselves on their messaging. Meaning a lot of what they're just trying to do is educate people very clearly. And anyone that's read Donald Miller's How to Build a Story Brand, or Building a Story Brand, I can't remember the title of it exactly, but you know what book I'm talking about. He
Mhm.
talks about, you confuse, you lose. We also say the confused customer never buys. And that is very true, that you have to communicate your message very clearly, especially when people aren't familiar with you. You have to get that across. And so what's so powerful about this ad format is that it both gets the clear communication across, but then it also leaves a powerful brand, lasting emotional response inside of them, above and beyond whether or not they were just interested in the product or the service itself and the solution that it's providing to your problem. So, meaning, even for people that didn't buy a Squatty Potty, or that didn't buy a purple mattress, or that didn't buy a Camp Chef woodwind grill, or that didn't buy FiberFix or ChatBooks or Lume or so on, they walk away with a positive association with that brand in the event that they ever come across it again online or in retail. And that's the power of branding, right? Of being able to stick in someone's mind with something that lasts much beyond whether or not they just thought the offer was great, or whether or not they thought that thing was going to solve their problem. And so it's a long term kind of approach, but it also provides those short term results that a growing company needs, because they have to be able to know that they're investing and it's coming back right away. And I shouldn't just say a growing company, but I should say an up and coming company, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think what makes the outcome of your advertisements so powerful is also just the sheer amount of passion, and you guys really care for the products that you work with, and you try really hard to be passionate about the products and the brands that you work with. What's that process of selecting a good brand to partner with? And I know you guys are, you don't work with any brand that comes to you. You
Right,
obviously
right.
have a strong qualification process. What does
Yeah.
that look like?
So it looks like a lot of leads that come in through our website, harmonbrothers.com, every single day. And we have a business development team that filters through them. And then they kind of let the creative directors know, here's some things that are coming down the pipeline, because we have to have a creative director that feels passionately about it. That's the main thing. I always say nothing sells better than the truth. And I really believe that the authenticity of selling something you really believe in will come across more than any one thing, right? And so we have to have some passion and some belief in the product or service. So we try to experience that as a customer first and foremost. We try to get our hands on it, play with it, taste it, eat it, use it, or have someone that is more in the demographic close by to us that uses it, and get a sense of what that's like, so that we know kind of what that customer aha moment is, and then we can speak more from the customer's shoes than anything else, rather than trying to imagine what it would be like or trying to project some of those things. It's a much more natural communication process when you have already made yourself into that customer.
And you have on your site, you also mentioned a couple of steps in terms of how you turn, well, on the side note, Poop to Go podcast is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Everybody should go check it out, Poop to Go podcast. But yeah, of turning basically anything into gold. And that process starts with, making sure that the brand believes in what they do, the truth. And then the qualification comes in, and the fit is the last thing. When it comes to, brands that come to you versus some of the brands that you are in your dream client list, and
Yeah,
I tell me a little bit more about who your dream clients are.
for sure. So we're very lucky in that pretty much all of our brands, I can't even think of an exception right now. All of our brands in our history, to my knowledge, are people that have come to us. We've very fortunate ever since the success of Aura Brush and then a Poo Pourri and so on. It's always been people approaching us. We haven't had to go out I mean, not to say we haven't, done a little bit of that, but but it's primarily, and I think 100% today are ones that have come to us. So if we're going to think in terms of clients that I think would be really cool to do something for, I think Tesla would
Oh
be
yeah.
a really fun brand for us to work with. Elon, if you're listening, then
I
you
hope
have my
he's
number.
listening.
You don't have my number, but you can find me on LinkedIn. And then I would also say a company like Airbnb would be really fun to work with. So I'm just thinking of products that we use ourselves could be really cool. Um, Even something like Slack would be fun to do an advertisement for, or do some sort of a marketing campaign. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other innovative things that I use in my life that would be really fun to work on. There's some different. I'm trying to think of food brands even that come to mind that would be. But I've always thought it would be fun to work on. Oh, here's a personal one for me. I like Hint water. I think
Era.
that would be, yeah, they have that
They
water
do
that is just,
amazing. Yeah, Hint water.
yeah. Yeah. I was introduced to them years ago and they've grown a lot since then, but I think that'd be a fun brand to work on.
They did. They're an amazing brand, and the founder's a great lady.
Yeah. Her story is really amazing.
Yeah, super cool. And Tesla is something that stands out. Your CEO Benton actually wrote a 3-part article on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about Tesla and how you think about the marketing direction of Tesla. I think when Benton wrote that article, that was in mid 2020 or early 2020.
Yeah.
And obviously it has blew up, and a lot of predictions that he made came true.
Yes.
So, I mean, on hindsight, what do you think about the marketing direction of the company, and how do you think that approach between brand awareness and direct response could take them to even the next level?
Well, their marketing approach to date has mostly been just Elon's Twitter account, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty much what it's been.
Yeah.
And then obviously making a really big deal of their like event announcement kind of stuff, right? They make a really big press event out of that, which is extremely smart in the way that they're approaching it. I feel like Tesla is so different for so many people in the way it's so different from like for example my Toyota Camry, right? It's very different from that car in everything from the drivetrain to just like everything about it is so different that it needs a lot of education to come with it. And but they also are a very premium brand. They're known for being very safe cars. They're known also for being very coveted high end cars. And so if you were to go just to kind of a, for lack of a better term, slimy direct response kind of approach, it would not feel good to anybody, and it would not help that brand at all long term. And that's where we feel like we could come in and really tell a very compelling emotional story around it. We would probably want to incorporate some humor into that. I think Elon has a sense of humor in his own ways.
I think that's going to blow up. I think that's an amazing idea. Yeah.
But I think it requires a lot of education to help someone understand a Tesla, and I think it requires more than just a 30-second commercial, and that's kind of our strong thing is longer form, or a portfolio approach of where we can do a lot of different video content with it, tell a really compelling story around Tesla, why it's so different, why it matters, how it ends up being more efficient, and what the lifetime value of that car is compared to usage of other cars, all those different stories around it. I mean, there's so many micro stories that we'd have to probably dive into their message testing on their website and things like that to find out what works to help guide us. But yeah, I think it would just be a really fun company to work with, and I just also want a Tesla myself. So
Oh yeah.
maybe spot me one as part of the campaign.
Maybe that's gonna be part of the payment as well. And talking about payments in the form of a car, I heard this somewhere, but back when I believe Harmon Brothers was just starting out, or even before that, one of the founders got a payment in the form of a vehicle. That was a really interesting story. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
So with what I had mentioned briefly, the Aura Brush story, where my brother was in that business class, he had said, "No, what if you sell to these 7-8% of people? Like, that's still millions of people. You should totally do that." In their initial campaigns that they were running, where they were buying ads on things like Google AdSense, and I think even on Facebook, and running different types of ad campaigns, the original founder and inventor, Dr. Bob, did not have money to pay Jeffrey in cash in order to perform the services that he was doing. And so he was actually, and Jeffrey didn't have a car at the time, he was in college. And he would like bike different places, or he would, ride the bus. And so in order to get Dr. Bob, I think partially just got sick of giving Jeffrey rides to his house to go work on his stuff and going and picking him up and chauffeuring him around. And so he's like, "Well, I don't have money to pay you right now for this first, couple of months that you've been working on stuff." And Jeffrey's like, "You don't need to pay me." It's like, "I haven't gotten any results yet. I haven't got you the sales." He's like, "No, I want to pay you something." He's like, "Here, how about you take my bike that as payment?" He had a I think it was a Suzuki motorbike of some kind that he paid him, that I was worth, a few $1,000s or something along those lines.
Does he still have it right now?
I think he might. Has he ever sold it? He might still have that bike, to be honest. He might have sold it. I can't remember, but yeah, that was his first form of payment.
Gotcha. And you know what? It's very easy to kind of think about Harmon Brothers as well, a lot of people think of you guys as like an overnight success. Bam, Poo Pourri, bam, Squatty Potty. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's a little bit of a series of ups and downs. What was the lowest moment or the biggest struggle that you've had to face in your journey?
The biggest struggle was not too long after we did Poo Pourri. And I guess I'm going to get a little bit personal with this story, if that's okay. But we had done the Poo Pourri campaign. It had been extremely successful. It hadn't been extremely successful for us financially in the way that we thought it would be, because just some things didn't work out the way that we thought they would. But at any rate, we it got our name out there, and then our church. So I'm a Christian. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our church approached us about helping out on a campaign for a Christmas project, and it was kind of a multi-faith sort of effort with several different like YouTubers and influencers. The piano guys, they're very popular on YouTube. They were involved with that. We made this nativity video and released it around Christmas time. It was also a huge success, got millions and millions of views. It was this awesome experience. And this is the way my mind went. My mind said, okay, we did that because we didn't do it for profit. We did it straight, just the money to cover our expenses. That was it. We weren't trying to make any money off of it or whatever. We just believed in the cause. And then my mind naively said, oh, okay, we did this nice thing for God. Now he's going to totally help us out with some more business. And then we went to the driest spell of our lives there after that Christmas season, where we went, I think, months and months and months and months without signing another client. And we were dipping into our savings, and we were taking little side jobs. And we were about to the point where we were like, man, are we going to have to disband this thing and like not even work together anymore? And we just took little teeny projects before we kind of figured our model out, and some of the things that had really made us successful on Brush and on Poo Pourri. We would just kind of take on these little clients that came to us, and it was just kind of a mess for a while. Our CEO was driving Uber for a little bit to pay his bills, and he was also laying concrete, laying cement and concrete for a landscaping job. I was doing little logo jobs and little writing jobs and branding jobs on the side, just from my computer out of my Adobe Creative Suite. And things just weren't going that well for us. Like I said, we were draining our savings accounts, and then along came Squatty Potty. So it got really, really bad for a while, where we didn't know how we were gonna, for sure, if we would be able to feed our families the next month, and whether or not we'd be continuing as an agency or any of that kind of stuff. And then Squatty Potty came along. We were able to do that deal. And not just do that deal, but it was extremely successful, and that changed our fortunes very much for the better. But yeah, it got pretty low there for a while, where we weren't even doing the traditional client work. There weren't campaigns to work on. The ones that we had to work on were short lived and not successful. And yeah, that was kind of our poop before we turned it to gold.
Well, appreciate you sharing that story. That's incredible, and I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, because it's not talked about, it's not advertised, it's not celebrated. But so I guess part of what you're trying to do with the podcast is to highlight both sides of that, the before and after. The Poop to Go podcast, everybody check that out. That's it. I'm just a big fan. Let's talk about your recent success with Lume Deodorant.
Yes. Uh-huh.
What was the, I guess it all culminated to the success that you have today, but what was some of the key points of learnings and ideas that you've taken away from your years of experience in different brands that you worked with that you applied to Lume successfully?
You bet. It starts with a really great product. Lume is a really good product. It works. Specifically, it works very well. Its biggest differentiation is not just that it's a natural deodorant, because there are other natural deodorants out there, but it's a natural deodorant that you can use on your downstairs parts, on your private parts. It is a deodorant for pits and private parts. And that's an area that not a lot of people are addressing, or if any, really, in the deodorant category, right? There's different things like powders and things that you can put on, but as far as like a deodorant that you can apply to your nether regions, they don't really hardly exist. And so it was very differentiated in that way. And we thought we could tell a really compelling story around that, because Lume had approached other marketing agencies about doing a partnership, and they all wanted to kind of skirt around that fact of like, oh, you can't really talk about this private part stuff. Like just talk about the fact that it's a good deodorant, and that's good enough. And we said, no, we want to help you tell that story. And we think we can do it with humor. It's a taboo subject. We can do it in a funny way where people are going to kind of laugh. It's going to kind of let their guard down a little bit and realize, that is a problem for some people, where they either sweat or any number of different things going on down there can cause smells, right? And so we did a campaign for them. They were on a $1.7 million run rate, and the campaign launched in December of, I want to say, December of 2017. And then in December of 2018. And then in 2019, they did, I want to say that they did something like, was it 12?
So that was like 10x.
Oh yeah, it was easily 10x. It was something along the lines of like they jumped up to like, it was 12 or 20 million. It was one of those. Anyway, it was crazy, whatever it was. And then the next year in 2020, let me look up their number real fast. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'm
edit this thing, right? Do you edit this podcast at all? Or no?
Yeah.
This is all live. Okay.
This is all live. But it's cool. I mean, this is an incredible story as well, because you get a brand that is well, traditionally hard to sell and hard to talk about on TV, right? It's a very similar approach to what you guys have done with Squatty Potty. And Poo Pourri. It's about poop,
Yep.
and that's not very TV friendly.
It's a taboo subject. So I think they did around $50 million last year in 2020.
Wow.
So yeah, over the course of 2 years, they went from a $1.7 million run rate to a $50 million a year company. So just mind boggling. And we did that first campaign. We've done follow-up campaigns. We've done a whole bunch of content for them. They've been a very good partner, but to their credit, they've leaned in. They've absolutely leaned in, even when everything the world looked like it was falling apart. They've just continued to lean in and
Trust.
take chances and trust. And it's been a phenomenal relationship. And I think so. If you, like you said, the takeaways is one, start with a really great product that solved the real problem. Two is using humor to disarm people and talk about something that was a taboo subject. And then the third one is that they've just made a lot of content. You cannot rely on any single ad or any single video and grow your company to that point. You have to be able to have a lot of content that you can hit your audience with, stuff that is fresh and new to them, but still supports the overall brand promise or whatever it might be. So yeah.
So it's never about just one video, one hit
No, it's
wonder,
never
and
about one email. It's never about one banner ad. It's never about any of that stuff. It's all about that top of mind presence. It's about being with people where they are as often as you can. And you have to create a lot of content to get there.
that's amazing. And what's next for Harmon Brothers?
Gosh, what is next? So our why is to, if you've read Simon Sinek's book on Start With Why,
Mhm.
our why is to share better stories. For us, in advertising, that means some very specific things. We want to share better stories, help our clients share better stories than what they can share themselves. We want to share stories that make the world a better place. We want to do it in better ways than we've done in the past. We want to be continually improving. And part of that is also now in helping our clients share better stories is we have consulting that we do with their clients to help them point them in the right direction for things like e-commerce and their web page design and all these different things where we can take the learnings that we've had from our campaigns and apply them to their own brand so that they can really make that get going themselves, where they can do that work that we don't have to be doing all that work for them. That's a big portion of it. And then the other thing is the other kind of storytelling that we're passionate about is some of our own original stories. I'm actually working on a TV series for kids that teaches about principles of freedom and human rights and principles of entrepreneurship and all that kind of good stuff. So we've got funding for the first four episodes, and it's a 2D animated kids program that we're got coming down the pipe.
That's incredible. Congratulations. What is it going to be called?
It's called Tuttle Twins. It's based on a book series that's sold now over 2 million copies.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Was the book series created by you guys as well?
No. A friend of mine that wrote the books, and I was buying the books for my kids ever since they came out, and I just feel like I think there's a huge gap when talking about seeing a need and providing a solution. I think there's a huge gap in between the number of people who like freedom and believe in freedom and those who really understand what freedom looks like, particularly when it comes to things like free markets and human rights and some of those things, civil liberties, all that kind of stuff. So that's what the show sets out to do, is really give kids a foundation of principles of freedom so they can better understand that going forward. Everyone likes their freedoms. No, it doesn't matter where they are on the political spectrum. The show isn't about, Democrat, Republican, any of that kind of stuff. It's all about just principles of freedom and how to think about how they apply in real life.
That sounds like a heavy topic for a kid. How do you break that down into something that's digestible and acceptable for a child?
And taboo subjects in our ads. We do it with a lot of humor. The same way that we approach it with our ads and when we go after any taboo subject or complicated subject, and really great storytelling. So break it down in our ads. We just do our best to make them. We try to, I've got little kids, and I can kind of test the content with them and see what's working. We're going to use the same things: comedy, adventure, great characters, great storytelling. It's all that same stuff.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much. And last final question over here. What are some of what are some other brands that you personally admire, aside from the ones that we've talked about already today, and why?
I haven't been asked this one, so this is a good one. I really like, obviously, Apple is a little bit of a gold standard with brands. I like what they've done in maintaining a very brands. Old Spice is a brand that I've liked for a while.
If you had to choose one brand that you admire that does amazing storytelling, what brand would that be, and why?
Also say Dr. Pepper is a really fun brand where their ads just make me laugh most of the time now, and they like advertise on college football, and it's really fun to kind of watch that happen. But they've got all these funny ads out. So Dr. Pepper's a good one.
Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been real fun talking to you, and hope to have you on again someday.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.